kind of interesting.
Yeah, mine just arrived last week, actually.
Yeah, mine came slow boat as well. Really didn't think it was going to work until they showed me your little email about being aggressive, pushing the 3.5 millimeter in.
Yeah, it's tight fit.
So the next step is to find the firmware. I saw one, the 20 does sideband on 620, 6, 2, and 70.
Something like that. Yeah, I've got a couple of links. I'll fire you a link, Drew, to the stuff I've got.
I mean, it's a $40 experiment, but I'm a little intrigued. If it'll do sideband, that's pretty cool. Now, it's not proper sideband, but apparently it works. Anyways, thanks for the hint on that one. That looks like a lot of fun to play with.
Peter must have went for a beer and got lost.
I was going to say, looks like he's been cleaning up his shop. That's distressing. It's obviously not got enough to do.
Peter said that he's going to be a little late tonight, so I think he just left everything on for a bookmark.
Oh.
Oh, there he is.
There he goes.
The man of the hour. He looks like he needs a beer.
Looks like he's got one.
Well, it's perfect then. Everything is in harmony. Okay, so good evening, everyone. It is Thursday. Wow, already ahead of the game. Wednesday, August the 7th, and we are having our informal audio frequency mixer, as we call it, the only meeting this month. Just a reminder, there is no meeting scheduled for 2 weeks from now. Our regular meetings will resume in September. So thank you very much for attending. Looks like we've got a decent turnout, 11 of us so far, which is not too bad, into the double digits. So I will start off with our message. As usual in the meetings, please note that all of our meetings are recorded and made available to the public afterwards for viewing on our YouTube channel. By participating in the meeting, it's understood that you have accepted and agreed to these terms. I think everybody knows the etiquette of these meetings by this point, as far as raising hands and muting your mics when not speaking, just to remove background noise. We muted you, Peter, because your clock was ticking very loud. At least we think we're blaming you anyway. So I'm going to mute my phone too because it started growling at me. So. It was a message from Cherry, so I have no idea. Maybe somebody else can look at their WhatsApp and see what Cherry was up to, but I don't see him on the meeting here tonight. So, all right. So, without further ado, we will get into it. Does anyone have anything, anything they need to share before we get started with the meeting? Anything that they want to bring up or discuss at this meeting that I should put on the agenda? Please speak. But Okay, I hear nothing, so we shall proceed. Um, so our agenda this evening is centered really around two things, primarily put together by Peter, and I don't have to specify which Peter, right? Because we only have one on the call at this point, I think. So the two topics are and they're somewhat related to each other, the DCR project, which is very soon coming to fruition. We've got quite a number who have signed up, some people for multiple kits. And the other thing is another in-person event, 4 days at my cottage. So we are planning on holding that once again. We did it about 2.5 years ago in the spring of 2022, sort of right not too long after pandemic started, and that actually worked out really well. We had I don't know, somewhere around half a dozen or more people attending at any one time, some coming and going. But anyway, we're planning on doing that again this November. So I will be putting a posting out with the dates for the event. So keep your eyes open for that. It'll be on the groups.io page, and it just if my memory serves me correct, it is around the first week of November. So you got a rough idea of the time frame. Hopefully you're available and would like to come up. It is roughly about 90-minute drive north of Toronto, so not too far. And those that have been there before can certainly talk to the fun that we had, and it is whatever we want to make of it. So, and that might include actually working on the DCR, if there are people who have not got around to building it, or are having trouble with it, or just want to operate with it. But anyway, before getting too far ahead of that, Peter has put together a short presentation on what went on at that event. For those of you that were not part of the group back in 2022, we did a recap back then, and I believe he has summarized that, maybe shortened it a little bit. And so, Peter, if you're ready to go ahead,
yeah,
the floor is yours.
I took the fluff out of it, out of the original presentation, if you will.
While you're doing that, Peter, I might just pop up a little poll here for a straw.
Can you guys see that, by the way?
Vote. Yep, it's coming through fine, the recap.
Okay. Okay. I just took out some of the, like I said, the bit of the fluff out of the original presentation that we had done. And on there, I think Eric had mentioned there was about six of us that went up. And I think 4 of us might have been there the whole duration. And then I think 1 or 2 came up partial, just a couple of days. But either way, it works. So Eric will put a map and coordinates all together, but that gives you a rough idea if you're familiar with, Aurelia and just north of Aurelia, that kind of thing there, where Eric is at. So when we first got there, one of the first things we did was put up antennas. Took a little bit of a challenge to get some of them up into that tree, but we did eventually.
Peter, the screen you're sharing is your presentation planner. It's the wrong window.
Hey, you know what? I went through this afternoon. I presented to myself and it worked great.
Yeah, it's the wrong focus, I think. That's all.
I'll try it this way. Does that work?
Yep.
See if it changes.
That's the one.
Oh,
Actually, you know what? Just bear with me for a minute. I'm on a split screen here, which I don't think is a good thing to do. Can you guys see that?
Now we've got the agenda.
Okay, let me just try this again. So even when you've been doing this for a few years and you play with it before the meeting, it can still go wrong. All right, how about that?
Yeah, we're back to the planning,
Really?
Yeah.
How can that be? I know it was a bit slow earlier, but I don't want to blame it on Windows 11, but
You had it there a moment ago when you just had the window.
Then you moved it off to the screen.
By the
I'm
way,
trying
did
to bring
anyone
it
see
onto one. I'm just trying to bring it onto one, but it's not sharing problem. Let's just see if this shares. Does this share now?
No, we're seeing your planning screen again, but you've already said present.
All right, I moved it back to the other screen.
Did anyone see a poll come up? By the way, no.
All right,
is
can you see
is
that?
it in the chat?
No, I don't see it there myself. But
Does that come up now?
yeah, no, we still keep seeing your plan screen. So
That's crazy.
you've already clicked the play from beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the wrong tab is being shared or something. What if you just minimize can you even see your planning screen?
Well, I got rid of the planning. I mean, what do you mean planning screen?
Well, where you organize your slides. That's all we're seeing, basically. I mean, it works, but you just kind of have to click each window if you can see your slide sorter thing or whatever.
Huh.
Yeah, we've had this problem before, though, right? This is
Yeah,
not
we did. But that's why I went through it earlier today to try and no. So I'm going to do the entire screen on screen 2, and you're saying that's not doing it.
No, you did have it there. Only once you had it, but no, we're still seeing everything.
So you can't see where the opening screen, like where it says 4 days at Eric's Cottage 2022 recap?
Yeah, it does, but like I said, we're in your slide sorter.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Now
So
can you
that's
see
good
the
we
whole
do
thing?
that. There we go. That's good.
There we go.
Oh, for crying. Terminology. You're unbelievable
But-
there. Okay. So we've already touched base on this one.
There.
You can see
Now
that
it's
one, the change?
advancing. Now it's advancing. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's Tori's Landing where Eric is at. So Eric will give the better directions shortly. And of course, I said there we go with setting up some antennas, wire antennas in this case. Eric had a nice little slingshot to help get the stuff up there. Hope we didn't hit anybody on that island in the background. But we had guy wires all over the place, so you can see a couple of tags on the one line over there. And then Kevin set up a loop antenna. And then we got to starting to unpack all our gear. We had about 3 tables all set up, and as you can see from the boxes, the Siglant was prominent at this thing. That everybody brought up all kinds of test gear, scopes, spectrum analyzers, signal generators, you name it, power supplies, radios, stuff to work on. Just another shot. That's the Eric's Cottage over there. All right. And then, of course, we had to have an on-the-air station. So I think that was new to you at that day, I think, Eric. And so Eric had a lot of teething problems.
That was the 7300, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to get it to work with FT8.
Right.
And then, of course, everybody started to come over to offer their opinion on to what Eric was doing wrong. And you can see a little bit of a setup over the far right. The guys that are at the table in the foreground there, you can see they ran into trouble already. The bottle's empty. Those are the two guys that were at that table, just to let you know. But Eric had a few problems with the digital modes getting into interface, and I think a lot of it was some of the problem, if I recall, Eric, the color schemes were different than what everybody else was used to, so that kind of threw everybody for a bit of a loop as well.
I remember that, yes.
Yeah. And this is just another shot of setting up stuff. I was back into this corner over here, and Kevin was here with his I can't remember what he brought up now. And then Dave and Michael were doing their thing over here. If I recall, I brought up my data logger stuff. Like I said, I've forgotten what Kevin had brought up. Dave had brought up his prototype of the signal tracer, and I forget what Michael brought up, but we certainly got into a good conversation on as the day went by. There's just some more of the test gear getting set up, and we're into it enough that, like I said, and it starts the conversations of what you're doing wrong and what are you doing right. And that's Kevin repairing whatever it was at the time. And there's Dave's prototype for the signal curve tracer. And I'm not too sure how we got into the conversation here, but square waves and everything kind of got into it. And there was a presentation that Michael did that came out of this particular weekend, but but I think when we started off, we were all totally confused about whatever it was we were talking about, and we were all happy when we left. So I guess it works, except that I can't remember all the details now. That must be your signal tracer, I think, eh, Dave? Is that what that is? Your curve tracer schematic there? Guess he's gone. There's some screen shots of the output of Dave's curve tracer. There's the shots of the data logger and etc. There were some other things in this box. Eric didn't like it. And then we were also starting off with milling. Both Dave and I had mills this time, and I brought up some samples of what I was doing. I was still teething, trying to figure out how to do that. So I brought up some sample boards, and here I'm showing them off to Michael. And Kevin was into some testing his loop antenna and whatnot, and of course the other antennas that we had set up. So we were using the reverse beacon network, so that entertained us for a while. It gave us a break from our square wave and decibel conversations that we were having. So it was a nice little break. So we all took a crack at the different antennas and sending out signals to out to the world and see what the reverse beacon network told us. Kevin looks like he's not happy that we took over from his work there, does he?
But Dave's grinning.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Here, let me show you guys how to do it. And we were fortunate enough that we brought all the gear that we brought up with us that we could actually test out what it was that we were talking about. And like I say, mainly was the square waves, but I can't remember now exactly what the conversation actually was all about. It was probably the calculating the power and effective powers and all this kind of stuff. Anyway. And, I think I know it. I think it had something to do with the Park SigGen. What the Park SigGen output was versus other signal generators and stuff like that. So that was part of it. Anyway. as it says, you got to have math sometimes. And then we had a little bit of a break from all the geek stuff. Eric and Dave went and visited a music store, or Eric and Kevin, maybe, I can't remember now. Dave flew his drone there. And I'm not too sure why they stopped for a snapping turtle at the bottom left there, but I hope they didn't turn it into soup that we ate. And then we were operating into the evening as well. Anyway, so that was our geek week.
And that last one's isn't that kind of neat? That was when Hassan came up. I think he came up at the end after most people had left. And
I think a couple guys had left, and then Hassan came up, and then I think we were all there for one night with Hassan, and then everybody left, and it was just you and Hassan, I think, for the last night.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So we had a romantic operating session out on the back lawn there in front of the Trent Severn.
Operating by the dashboard light. I mean, okay.
You're exaggerating.
But it was a real fun weekend. We had, because we've all brought up test gear, and some projects that we were working on, and some other little things to do some operating. It was a lot of fun, and we accomplished a lot out of it. We actually got a couple of presentations came out of this particular thing. So I encourage everybody who's interested to take Eric up on it and join us, whether you can go for the full 4 days or just come up for the day even, or one night, whatever. So I encourage you to think about that, and hopefully we'll see you out there.
Yes, Dave, go ahead. I think you saw your hand up, right?
No, I clicked the wrong button.
Oh, okay. All right. So if you want to stop sharing there, Peter. So we got 5. I don't know if everybody can see the poll results. We got 5 people present out of the what do we have now here? 14 people. So 6 out of the 14. 6. Do I hear 7? 7. Do I hear 7? Nope. All right. 7. I got 7. Do I hear 8? 8. Give me 8. Give me 8.
Maybe I should have shown. Maybe I should have left in the pictures that showed the sleeping quarters. Say.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Although there's only one premium bed, so there's going to have to be maybe some sort of competition for that.
I leave Tuesday to make sure I get it.
There you go. But yeah, no, absolutely. Peter is right. His last point there about come just for a one night, come for all 4 nights if you want. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or the overnights. Even if you could just come up for a day because that's all your schedule permits. Whatever works for you. So. It's a variable time of year, we don't know obviously what we're going to get in November. Weather is not that much different from the Southern Ontario norm for that time of year, but it still can be pretty darn nice the first week in November these days. So as far as, like what we're doing on the schedule, there's no commitment at this point. But as mentioned, working on perhaps the DCR while we're up there. Plenty of trees to put up antennas. There's really no restrictions. It doesn't particularly bother it's any of the other cottages that are on the property. There's another 17 cottages that are surrounding, but we're towards the end, so there's really only one cottage that has to kind of duck under wires and watch out for RF burns and whatever else. And apparently they didn't mind too much last year. Only had one comment saying, "What the hell are they doing there with all that shit in the air?" So, other than that, yeah, it's a good time. So, even if you have kits or projects that you're working on that you want to bring up, that's another thing that welcome to do, and get the assembled brain power working on whatever it is that you want to accomplish. Bringing up test gear, as you can see, all the scopes that were there. Somebody will be bringing a spectrum analyzer, no doubt, be it a mini one or a full-sized one, whatever. So lots of equipment, lots of knowledge, and a chance to get together. So I don't see Michael on the call, right? He's not with us this evening from the looks of it. So
No, he's tied up. He won't be joining us tonight.
yes, I believe you did mention that. Thanks, Peter. But yeah, we want to get a date from him for, as he previously generously offered the Mississauga club's clubhouse, whatever you want to call it, workroom for the DCR build. So we want to find out what tentatively dates or timeframes that he'd be thinking of as far as weekday, weekend, afternoon, evening, whatever. So we'll find that out from him. And as I mentioned, I'll be doing a post regarding the cottage event. So Peter, go ahead.
I think Michael had mentioned the only thing that the room is available pretty much anytime. The only time it might be a conflict is if there's a big contest on, and then the Mississauga group, the contesters, might be involved, although it's in a separate room. But so that might be something we need to take into consideration. But otherwise, I think it's pretty much wide open, so we can pick what suits mostly everybody. Now, I think the max the room takes is about 6 to 8 people. I think 8's a real tight squeeze, though. So, anyway.
So, sure, yeah, you can just leave it over there. Okay, so I also wanted to do a poll, which I can do during this next segment, which was basically who is interested in going because of the space constraints in that room. So I'll pop up another poll, but we were thinking of doing a roundtable to talk about the DCR project. So perhaps going around the people that are here that have signed up for the receiver kit, what their plans are for the kit. What they want to do with it, what their intentions are. Are they just building it for the point of building it to accomplish something, or they want to do something further with it, add on to it? Is it primarily a learning tool, or anything else? So perhaps we could start with you, Peter. How does that sound? So I can get my
okay. Well,
correlated here.
Like I was involved with a couple of the prototypes originally, and I think what I found there was a lot of fun with it was once the basic thing was built, I started to play around a little bit with the amplifier to make some improvements there. But the one that I had a lot of success and a lot of fun doing was putting a preamp in front of it. I thought it was working pretty good as it is designed, and then I stuck an LT 1253 preamp, the one that we used in the Phoenix, on the front end of it, and it was just like going from from black and white to color TV. So I found experimenting around with it a little bit fun.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that, Peter. And Sherry, I've got you on the sign up. Excuse me. If you're there, you've signed up for the DCR project. So what are your plans if you're there? I wonder if he's stepped away. He hasn't unmuted his mic yet. Okay, we'll maybe come back to him. Charlie, how about yourself?
I'm not completely sure what I'm going to do with it yet. I certainly intend to build it, and I'll probably use it as a basis for some experimenting. But yeah, it's more another project to add to my list.
Okay. All right. Very good. And Frank, yep, there you are. I've got you on the DCR kit list here, so you're probably not going to come to Mississauga for the group build, I would.
No, I won't be coming to Mississauga.
Although if we have
I'm
to drive you, we will.
I'm very anxious to see the kit. As you know, I was involved in the very early stages of it, and it's morphed into quite a different product than I had originally planned. So I'm very interested in the improvements and the changes which have been made to it, and just to build it is another good point. And it matches all of my other QRP products. So I might marry it up to a transmitter, QRP transmitter, and use it as the receiver end. So it'll be a lot of fun to play with.
Okay. Thanks, Frank. I have Wayne on the list as well for the DCR. What's your take on this?
So I'm one of the people that ordered more than one kit. I was thinking of just making one vanilla and using it kind of as a base to compare with the second one, which I do some experiments with. I did want to put a variable frequency preamp in the front end and play with filtering on the output. So I've got boards for the filtering, but I haven't done anything about the preamp yet.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that, Wayne. Appreciate the input there. So compare and contrast. Dave, how about yourself?
I got to find a mute button first.
There you go.
Not for me, test. Purely test. I don't operate, so I very rarely operate. So for me, I'll be using it just as a test piece of test equipment, so I could listen to what's being transmitted easily from anything I'm building without powering up my ICOM rig.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. All right, Ian, I've got you next on the list of DCRs.
Yeah, I've been away for a while, so I'm assuming it's some kind of a receiver. When this group puts out an excellent kit, I just sign up and ask questions later. I don't even know what it is, but I'm in.
All right. It sounds like you're a candidate to come up to the 4 days event and learn more about it, because that's what I'm really interested in myself, is learning. I mean, I've heard the term. I would like to know what how it compares to others. Obviously I know some of the basics, but maybe I don't. I don't know. So, and who knows? Maybe hook it up with a transmitter through an RXTX switch, so automatically goes from one to the other on the same antenna. Who knows? But anyway, okay, well, very good. I'm sure you're not alone in that boat. Okay, Ken, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's the one we started before COVID hit it. So we were at that point. We were in the planning stages with Frank and Peter.
Yeah, I've been away for a real long time.
Yeah, it's just a receiver without an IF.
Oh, cool. Either way, I'm in if this group's putting it together. It'll be interesting.
There you go. Okay. And Hassan, are you still on the call, or did he? Oh, yeah, there he is. Yep. Hi.
Yeah. So what do I want to do with it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick it in a case, put a battery on it, maybe add a Bluetooth transmitter, and put it on top of my dipole antenna, high above the ground. So I have no cables, no matching network, no what do you call that thing, tuners or anything. Just directly attached to the antenna. I want to see how it works.
All right. Okay. Very good. Keep it simple. Drew, how about yourself? You're on my DCR list as well.
Well, I have to tell you that almost everything I do in radio is a learning experience. And if I wait 2 weeks, I can learn it all over again. So I'm just looking forward to what I glean from this. These kits really give you a great opportunity to look down into what the technology is and what it's doing, and that's what I'm interested in. Direct conversion is not something I'm familiar with.
All right. Very good. Thank you for that, Drew. Joe, are you...
Yeah, no, I think Drew really summed it up for me as well. For me, it's more of a learning experience because I don't know anything about direct conversion myself. So having a circuit like that and being able to beat up on it would be great. And on a comment regarding the tight space for doing the build, what I was thinking was, because there's a bunch of us doing this, I'd see myself working on this project at home. But if I run into problems, making November my excuse to come up with the DCR to get some professional help. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Very good. Well, yeah, I think that's again highlights the benefits of this project tying in with our anticipated in-person gathering. So
Right.
that it sounds like a lot of the regulars on our meetings here, on our JITSI meetings, are going to be working on the DCR project, and a healthy percentage of them will be up there in November, and obviously some plans may change. We might get more as time goes on. So, but again, more details to come when it comes to timing for the project. I believe, Ken, boards are imminently in your possession. Is that right?
Yeah, they just showed up this afternoon.
Uh-huh.
We're waiting for another batch of 5 to come, so they'll be in a couple of days or at the end of the week.
Okay. And as far as the components that are being supplied, are they already in the bag, so to speak?
Yep.
Yep.
All 20 kits, all the parts are bagged.
Right.
So
Okay.
we just got to work out the logistics of getting kits to people who are not able to pick it up.
Right. Yep. Okay. So I presume you'll be stick handling that side of things as far as distribution, doing whatever we need to do to get it into people's hands. So I saw some hands go up. I don't know who was first, though, honestly. So we'll go alphabetically with Drew.
Just wanted to ask about, is it e-transfer the way we're going to do this?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's all I needed to know. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so P comes after D.
Erst, that begins with an A. Hey, you forgot to talk to. Speaking of A's, you forgot to ask Al.
I don't have Al on my list. I apologize, Al. Are you a DCR? Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised that.
Actually, Eric, you and I talked about this the other day.
You and I talked.
Not to air our dirty laundry in front of everybody, but we went over this. Anyway.
I barely remember even who you are, Peter. So Al, apologies. Yes. Well, honestly, I have a list and you're not on it, but hey, maybe it's because it's a typo.
You're playing Santa Claus and I'm on the naughty list?
Maybe. Well, I will have to pencil in. I'll just strike this Peter off the list and I'll assign the kit to you. How's that?
That's exactly what it is.
I know. Now I remember. It's all coming back to me. So Al, what are your plans? Last but not least, by any means.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you froze for a moment there, but
yeah. My internet connection is going up and down like a toilet seat.
Yeah, I was going to say there was a moment there where you got compressed about 30 seconds of your video into 2 seconds. So.
Yeah. Anyhow, well, I think to begin with, I'm just going to have fun building the kit and learning it. But in the back of my mind, I'm wondering maybe it'll be a module or a building block for something bigger. I've noticed QRP Labs has a band pass filter kit for 6 band passes, and maybe someday I can turn this into a multi-band receiver with a bandpass switches and maybe a digital VFO. I don't know. We're just going to start and see where it goes and have some fun.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Al. I guess, that really does bring up the question of, how much can be done with this project, like how many things are able to be added, onto it. Is it really modular, or is it, what are the other than what's already obviously been mentioned, what else is potentially capable with the DCR? Is there anything unique about not having that intermediate stage there where it's mixing that lends it to certain functions? Peter?
I was just going to say what Al mentioned about the multi-band bandpass filter kit that QRP Labs, of course, the DCR project, the form for the filters is based on QRP Labs filter design. But if you're going to take their multi bandpass filter board and splice that into there, I guess you'd have to come up with a little bit of connection wizardry to plug into that form factor. But it could be done for sure. But that'll be interesting. And I think for experimentation use too, the doing something on the front end will be a nice eye opener, shall we say? Playing around with the front end on this.
Okay. Right. So that, I think, pretty much is the end of our discussion on the DCR project. We'll just wait with eager anticipation for Ken's posting for when things are ready to go. Ken? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to fill in something. So we just got 20 boards today. There's another 5 coming. I think Wayne was the one that wanted 4 extras. Now, just to let people know, I mailed a complete kit to Kevin, and it cost $2.36, and I think it was there within 2 days. So basically, if you can't attend to pick it up, I can make arrangements for mailing it out. So the way it'll work is, if you pick it up, you transfer me the money. If you need it mailed, I will post it, get a cost on the mailing, and then let you know what the cost is with mailing and the kit together. If and when there is a build-a-thon, I will be there, but I will not be building anymore. I think I was in this with Frank right from the beginning, and I think I've got like 5 versions of this thing built.
And I think Peter's of the same mind on that, almost.
Yeah. And it works quite well. And regarding the QRP Labs filters, the output of the filter is 50 ohms, and the input of the DCR is 1500. I had done some tests comparing the QRP Labs to the simple bandpass filter that I'm including in the kit, and the simple one kills the QRP Labs. So what I plan to do later on down the road is to adapt the QRP Labs filter to the DCR by changing the output toroid. And that's pretty much it. The kits are all bagged except for the boards, and pretty much everything's ready to go.
Would you say that there's the possibility, does anybody in the group here have equipment, or possibly be coming up in November, that we could get some measurements on some of the technical specs of the receiver, like selectivity, sensitivity, that type of thing? Is that even possible with the kind of equipment we have available to us? Peter?
Don't see why not. There's nothing like a signal generator with a whole pile of attenuators to get a signal down to S1 and lower and lower. So yeah, spectrum analyzers will measure it.
I'd be interested to see how that's done.
With this group, we got everything. We can handle it all.
Okay, Dave.
Yeah, what I would suggest, if you want to come and test your DCR, bring your own scope, because there's nothing like using your own equipment, because then you get to use it, you get to learn it. And that's another thing we could do up at your cottage, Eric, is if people bring their test gear up, bring your spectrum analyzer, your SA, your VNA, whatever you got, bring it up. There'll be lots of circuits, lots of people with experience there, and you could use it, and you could learn how to use it. If you're a little bit rusty with it, it's a good tutorial for you to, go through the paces and use it. So anyway, to answer your question, Eric, what I would recommend is at the Buildathon, bring your own scope, because there's nothing like having your own equipment, because then you learn how to use it.
Ken, what is the frequency range of the receiver?
I've got bandpass filters for 40 and 20. I believe the schematic has values for 15 and 10 additional. So you just have to get the wind the new toroid and caps.
Right. Those things are not modular though, right?
Yeah, the same footprint as the QRP Labs filter.
Oh, okay. All right. So theoretically 10 through 10, 15, 20, 40.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But the parts that are included is for 40 and 20 only.
Right.
And you get you're gonna have to build it on a Vera board. Mm-hmm. Kevin is putting the manual together, so he's gonna have instructions on there. I gave him a couple of images of the Vera board, how the parts are set up on it. It's very, 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 very simple. Basically, if you build the 40 and you want a 20 filter, just scale it.
Okay. Yes, Peter.
I was going to say, the limitation is whatever the bandpass filter is. The other limitation would be, what is the frequency range of the 612 mixer?
Up to gigs.
Right. So you're only limited by
the filter.
Your bandpass filter. You should be able to go to DC to wherever. That there's virtually no front end with these things, right? Except for the bandpass filter that we're putting in there. So it's whatever you really want to focus in on. Now, having said that, I've never really played with it much above 30 megahertz. Well, I shouldn't say much. I've never even tried it. What it would do on there. Now you've got me interested. Now I'm gonna have to dig up one of those prototype boards.
Make it a general receive unit, right?
Well, yeah, like I say, that's one of the reasons why the bandpass filter is a modular thing. You plug in whatever you want.
Right. Charlie, please go ahead.
Just a quick question. So the filter will be a limitation, but also the oscillator, right? I mean, there is a conversion, so there's a local oscillator of some flavor on there.
Yeah.
That's
So-
your SIGGEN that you're going to apply in there, or whatever.
Yeah. The setup for the attenuator on the LO is set up for the Park SIGGEN. There'll be a pi attenuator and then a 50 ohm load on the output. If you want to use it on a different source, you can have an external attenuator if it's needed, or a preamp if you need one. But those notices will be put into the manual that the values for the attenuator are set for the SIGGEN.
So it requires an external oscillator then.
Yeah.
Peter, please go ahead.
See, now there's another modification you can play with too. Is design, take a DDS chip and write a little bit of software for it, or take, some of the code that's already been done for, like in the SIGGEN, and take it out if you haven't got the Park SIGGEN, and write your own for controlling the DDS and connect that up into the DCR. So there's lots of little things you can do.
Yeah, just to make people aware, the data sheet says input voltage to pin 6, which is the oscillator input, is between 200 and 300, but it does not say if that's peak to peak or is that RMS or whatever. I've got mine slightly higher, around 400. Wes of EMRFD, he's used up to 1,000 milliamps or millivolts peak to peak without any problems. Sorted people have used different values, but I've got it limited to 400 at the most. Now the other thing too with the chip is if your LO signal is too low, then you're not taking advantage of the built-in gain into the chip. So as you approach that 300 millivolt peak-to-peak voltage, you're getting more gain inside the chip. But if you go too far, then you're going to distort. But you know what, people, you can just try it yourself and see what the performance is like. It's a very, very, very simple circuit.
Okay. Oh, Al, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to mention some months back I was playing with a digital VCO I found on the internet based on a 1-inch OLED display, and the fella that designed it completely did all the programming for all band receiver with all IF offsets or zero offset for DCR. It's got signal strength indicators, and this one's specifically designed as a front end for any type of receiver. So that's kind of what's in my mind, is to take this thing that I was playing with, and maybe that'll be my VCO of choice.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you, Al. All right. So that is pretty much the formal part of the agenda for the meeting. since we've already done a roundtable talking about the DCR, I don't think we're going to go around the room again. But if there's anyone that would like to bring up, there we go, back in business. Okay. All right. I see Dave and Frank. I think Dave had his hand up first. I'm not sure, but we can go for age before beauty. I don't know. Frank?
Okay.
You're unmuted, so you win the race.
I just wanted to show off something that I purchased and got assembled, and I haven't really put it on the air yet because it was part of a big changeover where my ham shack, as it were, got upset. I'm on the other side of the room now, and the antenna that I had, which was on the ceiling or where the wall joined the ceiling, wrapped around the room, that worked pretty good. It disappeared, and it sort of became a office come lounge room with a new piece of furniture behind me, which I show you there, and a new antenna, which I'm going to swing around.
Ah.
I've used homemade loops before, but this is a commercial one. And for me to buy something commercial is the most unusual. So that was the thing I said, okay, I'll change the room and I'll move all my building stuff down to the basement and sort it out down there, which I also have done. So most of the summer is being taken up with relocating, redesigning, and all the rest of it. So that's what I've ended up with, and I'm anxious to get that DCR and hook it up and start using that as a standard. So I had to brag a little bit about that one. It cost me a fortune, but I hope it's going to be worth it. Now back to you then, Eric.
Just before you go, Frank, do you have a lot of RF? Is it a RF noisy environment you in there? With when I visited you a couple months ago, it was hard to tell. I mean, lots of houses in the area, but what's your noise floor like?
The noise is not too bad. It is a little bit less than I had in Brampton, and a bit of atmospheric noise I've noticed, but no man-made QRM.
Okay. And do you plan on using that as a receive only?
No.
No?
I'll both receive and transmit.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Very good. I see Dave still has his hand up, or he put it down. I don't know. I can't quite tell. I think it's down. So Hassan, please.
Yep. I had a question for the group. If we go to a dark, like a quiet, radio quiet zone, and if you ran a receiver there, would the noise floor be below the receiver noise? So could you get something by like cooling the receiver down to the point where there is no thermal noise in the transistors? Is there any benefit to that?
Peter.
Well, I'll answer the question with this way. During the Park Rat 2 trip, when we were up at Algonquin Park, who was it? Dave and not this Dave, another Dave, and Ron were setting up the radio, and they were going on for 80 meters. After they had everything all set up, the rig all powered up, antennas installed, they thought they broke the radio. And the reason why they broke the radio was because they had full quieting on 80 meters. There wasn't a noise to be heard. So that tells you, you know, you get into a nice quiet radio quiet zone, or, you know, RF free, boy, it makes a big difference. Like you say, who heard full quieting on 80?
Thank you.
Hey, Ken, please go ahead.
Yeah, last few years, not this year, but the last few years, I've been taking a rig camping up at Row. What a difference. No, barely any noise whatsoever. And I was primarily working 40 and 20. Next summer, I plan to be up at Arrowhead Provincial Park, north of Huntsville, and I am expected to be even more quiet. So we'll find out next year. This year, I was going to take a rig to Earl Row and test out the undone I built and the random wire. And then the last minute decided, no, I'm not taking radio. So it took a break.
Dave, please go ahead.
Hassan, you should know that thermal noise, like most of your receiver noise, is coming from thermal noise from all your amplifiers. That's a lot lower than atmospheric noise. You should know that. Aren't you the engineer guy?
Yeah, but I didn't know practically. I didn't know.
I just poking fun at you, man.
Yeah, that thermal noise comes from diode junctions, the transistor junctions mostly.
Resistors.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Anything else on anybody's bench that they'd like to talk about? If so, now's the time. Nope. Hassan.
Yes.
With the number of benches you have, this should be interesting.
Well, I discovered there's a new generation of 3D printers out there that apparently are so much easier to use than the Ender 3s. So you can get it up and running in perfect prints every time, within 15 minutes of unboxing. So there's something called the Bamboo printer, which is like miles ahead. And then there's the Prusa, which is open source and more expensive and one generation behind, but it's still much better. So they have like force feedback, so they can give you a perfect first layer every time. And I thought I just asked the group if anyone's thinking of getting one of those.
Prusa has a new model out, do they?
Yeah, the Mark IV.
Mark IV.
The Prusa certainly generates superior prints from my experience with the group on Saturday mornings. There's a lady there that has a Prusa, and the Ender only produces equivalent prints when I spend a little extra time on it. It's so the Prusa really is very impressive. I've heard of the Bamboo, but I don't think I've ever seen one.
They're apparently all the rage. They have LiDAR.
Yep, they are absolutely. I've seen a lot of people talking about them on various channels. Plus, I think I've seen a couple for sale on Kijiji. So you get a little tempted, but I have resisted.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I'm thinking of getting back into the hobby because the Ender 3 was a pain at the end. I don't think I could. At some point, it stopped working for me. So I think I'm thinking of getting one of these things now.
Apparently, even Taylor Swift uses a Bamboo. So, yeah.
What?
Yeah. That's the word. Yeah, she's a fan. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well,
there's an unusual unexpected connection.
Well, it's good enough for Taylor Swift.
There you go.
That's why they had to cancel the Vienna concerts, apparently, because she was too busy unboxing her Bamboo and printing with it. So, yeah. Check it out. It's been canceled. They'll tell you it's about terrorism, but it's not true. It's for bamboo. Dave, what's up?
Hassan, I've got an Ender 3. I don't know if you can see it from my video, but I've got, probably not, you can't see it. I've got an Ender 3 and the thing works. I've never, ever had a problem with it, except when Eric comes over and he starts eyeing it. No, but what I wanted to say, did you see that video I posted where the guy took a 3D printed mold and he did injection molding with a 3D printed mold using hot glue? And he's able to generate, extrude hot glue into a 3D printed mold, and it comes out. It was the coolest thing. And then I saw another video of a guy takes a metal mold. He creates a metal, he uses a milling machine, creates a metal mold, and he takes a 3D printer to inject the stuff inside the mold and create a mold from that. There's some really cool stuff you could go and do. And so anyway, the other thing, once all the questions are done, what I suggested is that we should review the upcoming presentation schedule, because we've got, how many, Peter? 4? 3 or 4 guest speakers. I think it's about 4 guest speakers coming up between September, October, and November.
Yeah, once we're finished at the end, then I'll go over the list. I got the program up on my computer here, so I'll read it off.
And I think we may be approaching that time. I'm not seeing any more hands up, so. All right. Well, are you ready with the list of upcoming presentations, Peter?
Sure.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah. Okay. So September 4th, the mixer, we have Boden, and I can't pronounce his last name. He's going to talk a little bit about how to build a Meshtastic network. Then September 18, our regular meeting, Sean Atkins, KH7RMG. He'll be giving his talk. He'll be talking to us about large telescopes, the ones that are in Hawaii and Chile. He's been involved in the building of those 2 telescopes. So he's a fascinating guy to talk to. October 2nd, our own Charlie here, he'll be talking about basic grounding considerations and how it plays into equipment interfaces and RF in the shack. So that's October 2nd. October 16, Dave, VE3KCL, he's going to talk about his experiences of pico ballooning. If you're not familiar with the name, he basically has a balloon somewhere around the world all the time. It seems like he's been doing this ever since Hans Summers put out the first little board there for, I think it was QRSS. Dave's been involved with that. So he's going to talk about pico ballooning. November 6th, Cherry, he's going to be talking about his experience with the N2CX AccuProbe. I'm looking forward to that one. Well, I'm looking forward to all of them, actually. But November 20th at our regular meeting, Glenn Iverson, he's going to talk about astrophotography. So that should be quite interesting as well. On December 4th, we have Gerald, VA2GJ. We met him down at Dayton this year at 4 Days in May. And he was supposed to give Eric a test on for his VE3, but it kind of fell through the cracks. So anyway, he's going to talk to us about the Cohen IF filter, analysis, simulation, and implementation. So that's on December 4th. The only meeting that's open at the moment is December 18 is open at the moment, and of course 2025 is open. We've got a couple of presentations yet to be scheduled, but Charlie's got a bunch. Has got a few presentations ready to go. So we'll schedule them into the new year. So we're looking pretty good. But if anybody else has some presentations in mind that they want to do, please let me know, and I'll start working on the schedule. Well, we got lots of time, but we can all use some, right? That's about it for my end. I think Ken has got questions.
Ken.
Yeah, when was what's on November? Where the heck is it? November? Is it November 6th?
Well, November 6th is the mixer. That's Cherry. He's talking about his experience with the N2CX AccuPro.
Okay, and when's that weekend at your place, Eric?
The 6th, Wednesday the 6th to Sunday the 10th.
Okay, so whoever's going to be there on the 6th will have to be on the mixer remotely.
I hadn't thought of that. Well, you know what? I mean, Eric's got an internet. Actually, I think last time we had a meeting, did we not? I can't remember.
Yes, Peter. Last time we were there and we did a meeting.
Yeah, we did.
Yes.
Yeah. So we can probably do it again. No big deal.
Okay.
So since we're going to be doing a mesh networking, I'm going to have to get my little mesh-tastic node up and running. I was using this at a conference in New York City a couple weeks ago, and we put this together and started connecting to a whole bunch of other nodes. There was probably at least about half a dozen or more. No, more than that, a dozen, maybe 2 dozen or so nodes that were up and running throughout the conference. So there you go. So that's my little, it's still trying to connect to the access point, but anyway, hasn't been used at home yet. So there you go. Well, yeah. Get that grin off your face, Dave.
When you start to do implementations and start to configure this stuff, we're going to be doing 1-800-JOE, help us.
Yeah.
Joe's I think, Joe, you got a pretty good handle on the technical side of things, don't you, with this Mesh-tastic, with your experiments?
Well, I wouldn't say I would be an expert on it, but at the point I'm at right now, I've got 2 nodes. Well, when I've got 3 nodes in total. 2 that are Raspberry Pi type that I've imaged, and then I bought one of the LilyGo T Echoes. And what I'm doing right now is I've tested them to make sure that they can go on the wider Mesh-tastic and they all work. And now what I'm doing is I've gotten 2 of the units talking on separate channels to each other. And I'm at the point now that on the Raspberry Pi side, I'm going to start attaching sensors to it. So that way I can see if I can get telemetry being transmitted across the network. And then also I'm going to be doing some distance tests, purely RF. I did some basic ones between my location here at home and at work. And because I was getting ranges of about 26 kilometers on the main Mesh-tastic, and I changed the channels and the encryption so I could focus just between the house and my work location. So I need to get the units high enough in order for this test to work, but that's where I'm at right now.
Perhaps we can do some testing at the 4 days.
That would, if I can make it, I'll bring the equipment up.
Yeah,
might have to go for 5 days.
That's right. That's what this is.
You won't have to change the spelling either.
This is one of those LilyGo boards that I think you were referring to there, Joe. So, yeah. Dave.
Yeah, just FYI, Joe and Eric, Bowden, when he comes to talk in September, what Bowden wants to do is he wants to create an amateur radio Mesh-tastic network. So that's why he's coming to talk about Mesh-tastic, is that he's hoping that we can build a network. He's located in Kitchener, but I'm sure it's not a stretch to reach Caledon and further out. So I think that's what his goal is to try and create an amateur radio mesh-tastic network.
Okay,
Dave,
yeah, Drew, please.
can I interfere for just a sec? I was wondering what frequency is he wanting to do that on?
It's all this stuff is on the ISM band. It's
I
all
know
in
it's just
because it's
the 915.
yeah, it's like it's probably in the gigahertz. I think if you look at that guy, what's the Swiss guy?
Yeah.
Oh, what's his name? He's got a
Andres
bunch of videos.
Spies.
Yeah, if you look at his video, he's got a whole bunch of videos about the frequencies, what channels, what frequencies.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it's Drew. I'm pretty sure, but don't quote me on it. I'm pretty sure it's in the gigahertz. Probably Joe would know.
Well, I think it's 915, but I'm a little intrigued about these distance discussions. I'm going to be looking forward to that because I'm not getting that kind of distance.
So Drew, just so that you know, when I was doing some testing with the LilyGo T Echo,
Yeah.
and so this is one of the units that will talk to a Meshtastic app, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I did was I turned the Meshtastic app off on the Wi-Fi. Sorry, I turned off Wi-Fi
Yes.
on my phone, and also I made sure that the LilyGo wasn't doing any Wi-Fi direct, and I kept an eye on some of the traffic that we were getting, and I was getting signal from places that were 26 kilometers away. Now,
Wow.
I don't know if, like, for example, where I work, this is where I was doing the testing. I'm closer to the lake shore, so I'm lower down in altitude, and the locations that we're transmitting in Toronto, they could have been on top of buildings higher up, so it probably wasn't line of sight, but it was maybe getting there.
Well, that's
And
kind of what I wondered. I mean, there's a fellow wanted to do it here, you see, and
yeah,
we don't have the kind of vertical real estate you guys have. So, I mean, you could throw it farther.
yeah.
You know.
I mean, this is part of the reason why I want to do some like distance tests on my own with two endpoints that I control.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep. No, that's good. I just kind of wondered because I just thinking I'm using the Heltec V3s, and
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out, gee, have I missed flipping a switch in the app or something?
Right. Right.
Anyways, it was an interesting discussion, and we'll carry on in September. It's fun to play with.
Yeah,
Thanks.
for sure.
So Joe, does it not work in the gigahertz? I was just looking on Google, and it looks to be 433 or 9 something megahertz. It doesn't
Yeah.
go higher than that.
No, the three frequencies that I see that are being sold on the units are 433, I think 868, and 915, 920, something around there.
The label on my LilyGo here says 433/470.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Yeah,
and I guess we if
North America is 915.
Yeah.
According to the plastic site.
Yeah, and I guess we've got to be careful about it's ISM band, and usually the ISM technically we're secondary, as if you're declaring it an amateur radio network. I don't know if that also adds a further thing where it says we have to be on where we're officially secondary.
And I think isn't 800 megahertz frequency, isn't that European ISM?
I
Is
think
that the
so.
European ISM?
I think so.
Yeah, the Metastic site lists the 800 and the 433 as the Europe frequency ranges. Only 915 for North America.
which is Joe, and that's kind of interesting what you said about secondary use. If we could, because we could transmit on any one of the um, amateur radio UHF, VHF bands, right? So which means that we could potentially put this equipment on an amateur radio band, bump up the power, and we should be able to get this, theoretically, we should be able to get this out tremendously far. We just need to have a suitable transceiver for that frequency, right?
Yeah, I mean, like the units themselves. When you image with the Meshtastic software, basically you've got software switches that can tell the unit, okay, this is a client, like an endpoint, or if you want to make this a gateway, or if you want to make this a repeater. So, and I guess the whole point of the network itself is you don't really need to necessarily boost the power. Like that's the whole point of the whole chirp type of transmission is it's another type of digital transmission where you're not supposed to need that much power to get some distance. And go ahead.
But I think that chirp is it's to increase the signal to noise. So I don't. It's a wrong term I'm using, but it allows you to hear the signal when it's buried in noise. So if you transmit more power and you chirp, you get an even stronger signal. But Joe, what you said just now, I don't know if this is where you were going, but yeah. I think it's freaking brilliant. We could do something like what D-Star does, where you do digital to a little dongle, then from there you're doing IP, or even you're doing VHF.
Yes.
What's her band? Geez.
2 meters.
Yeah, 2 meters.
Can you use the LoRa system on 2 meters? The radios that come with the boards are separate from, like, you have an ESP32, and then you have whatever the transmitter receiver is. And while they're integrated on one big board, they are two separate, distinct things. Can you do this with a standard VHF FM rig?
Yeah, see, that's where I was going before.
Yeah, I know. That's a very scary concept. That's a really good one.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I am scary.
Oh yeah, no, that's a really that is really an interesting thing, because now the range issue.
But the other thing Joe said that sparked an interest is if you just use a standard Meshtastic, right? Yeah. So you've got the Meshtastic gateway, but instead of using it as a gateway, it's going to interface. You can have like a manual interface to a 2 meter radio, yes, or even to an IP network. I don't know. Is that how the gateway works, Joe? Is it an IP?
I haven't looked at it, but one of the things that you can do, like when you image Meshtastic onto one of these boards, basically it's a Linux operating system that's been stripped down, running a website. And there's also an interface for command line. So I wouldn't be surprised. You can probably jerry rig. So there's probably a whole API. I wouldn't be surprised with it, right? Or you could jerry rig one, right? Either through port 80, something like that.
Yeah, so that's where it's going. So Drew, you're 100% right. That's what I was thinking, is that can we maybe slice off the ISM band and put it on an amateur radio band, right? And if we bump up the power to say, what are we allowed on 2 meters, 50 watts, 100 watts?
Actually, there is an amateur allocation in the 908 to 923 band. And if you declare yourself an amateur, it puts you on that frequency. And then you can go to Down East Microwave, buy yourself a little bump, and be putting 20 watts, 900 megahertz at somebody. That is our band. We're in there.
Yeah, but this stuff is encrypted, Drew, and we can't run any kind of encryption in the amateur
No,
bands.
but you don't have to encrypt it. You have the choice not to. If you're an amateur, it actually disables the encryption. If you flick on my app, if I flick the I'm an amateur thing, it won't let me encrypt anything, and I think it restricts the channels I operate on.
Okay.
But you're right, of course, it can't be encrypted. But this, oh God, rabbit hole. Eesh.
Frank, you've got
I
your
would
hand.
argue, if you look at FT8, sure, it's encoded, right? And it's a well-known encoding scheme.
That's
But
right.
isn't that a form of encryption?
No, it's like you can talk on. You don't have to talk English on amateur bands, right? That's not encrypted. It's just a different language. That's all.
It's open. You could still, encryption implies it's only
Right.
you encrypt it and you have to have a key to take it back. It's
Right.
you can't publicly decode it.
Right.
Whereas
The
if you're
encryption in these
using
systems is AES 256.
Right,
It is
right.
absolutely
So-
illegal on amateur bands.
Yeah. I get that. But I was arguing to say, well, FT8, if I transmit FT8, if you're listening to it, you can't decode it. You have to have the specialized software
Right.
to decode it. So is that in
That's
encryption?
encoding, not encryption.
Wouldn't
Yeah,
CW be encryption then, by that definition?
No,
if you
it's
don't
not
have
encryption.
the brain to decode it.
No,
because
No,
the
it's an
software's not restricted.
that's
Yeah.
right.
And
That's
yeah.
right.
Now,
It's
you
open
go
source.
argue that with the FCC.
Okay, Frank, you've had your hand up for a while. Please go ahead.
Me.
Yes, all of this talk brings me back many, many years. And that is using, I'm not sure how these stations are identified, whether you can use your ham radio call sign or whatever to identify your station. There must be, if it's amateur radio, there must be some type of identification. But possibly we could resurrect an idea that was been around many years, and use IP addresses.
Yep.
Now, a lot of, I don't know if anybody realizes that we have a whole bloody section of 44, first numbers, 44, dedicated to amateur radio. And in Europe, hams are using it for all of their high frequency or HS, high speed multimedia. And they've got networks going in that area. And when we introduced that, it started out by using the IP address of 44.
Yep.
But if you look it up, it never took off because of the states wanted their own formatting and whatnot, and we went along with it. But maybe this is a new chance to use your IP and all of the networking protocols and everything that go with an IP address would be ours.
Yes.
You would not be able to connect to the normal IP networks, but you would have our own unique network and use the IP protocol. So give that some thought.
Frank, it brings to mind the AmperNet packet networks that you're describing.
That's right.
That system was around. I got prodded into looking into this thing, and there is actually a Meshtastic BBS. So I think it's entirely possible to interface the two systems and put Meshtastic amateur stuff on packet and back and forth. And it's kind of an interesting area to delve into.
Yeah, it was way back in the packet days that I run into it. I was very active at that time. In fact, I had the first packet station in the GTA, but the only people we could talk to was a chap on the Hamilton Mountain, and he had a pretty good signal.
Yeah, we're kind of at that state now with Meshtastic. There's not very many people out there yet.
That's right. So before it blossoms, as I'm sure it will, why not adapt to the IP address system, since each one of us has our own personal IP?
It's, yeah. Anyways, I look forward to the discussions in September. It's a great rabbit hole.
I just have to climb onto my barn with my node here, and so I can oversee the entire GTA, see who I can connect to.
You know, Eric, I didn't want to bring this up, but you've chosen a frequency that I think nobody else is on.
Well, I guess there you go. Only one way to find out, as they say.
Well, you know, I was going to buy a 433 just to see, because it'd go farther, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of 70 centimeter, and I realized everybody else was buying 900, and I thought, well, I'd be, you know, outstanding in the field sort of thing, but nobody around.
Right. I'll have to look up the Meshtastic map, but I'm sure that fellow who's coming to talk to us will be able to shed a lot more light on some of these topics, right? So
I would like to bridge between the 70 centimeters and the 915. I'm hoping he'll talk about that.
Yeah. All right. Okay, well, 9 o'clock is here, so I think we'll call that a wrap. Thank you very much for all of your attendance and participation in the meeting tonight. As I think Peter mentioned earlier, September 4th is our next meeting, Wednesday, for our next mixer. No meeting on the 21st, which is 2 weeks from today. The room will be open, though, if anyone does want to meet up and do something on that day. I will be meeting on the 4th because I'll be in transit out of the country. But I'll be coming in probably audio only on the 4th. So your host, Peter, will take us through that meeting. And with that, I'll bid you all a good night. 7-3, all.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Have
night.
a good
Thanks for the great
rest
chat.
of the week.